Hi everyone, how are you? I hope everyone is safe and healthy, right, during this pandemic. So guys, quickly starting with the introduction. This is Sayem Negi and I'll be a speaker for the boot camp that goes by the name Beginner's Guide to Pentest. Just a quick brief introduction. I have been working in this field for quite a couple of years. Okay. Earlier, back in the days, I used to be a web developer, but I always had this keen interest in cybersecurity. So what I did, I challenged myself and I took the step to switch my profile and try to enter into a new domain. And later on, I landed a job in cybersecurity. So this is to show you guys that if you want to switch your domains, if you want to switch your profile, you can successfully do it. Don't hesitate in, people, I have encountered a lot of people asking like, sir, like if we are in this domain, like out of cybersecurity, how can we land your job in cybersecurity? So it's perfectly fine. You can switch your domains, guys. You can successfully land a job in cybersecurity as well. Okay. So talking about the certification, I am certified in Pentest Plus, CEH, Security Plus, CHFI, and CIT, CTIA. Currently, I'm also dealing with cloud security and DevOps. So if you talk about agendas, right? So my agenda or my ultimate motive is to get a certification of DevSecOps, right? Developing security and operations. Okay. That was a quick brief introduction regarding me. So if we talk specially about Pentest Plus, guys, if we talk specially about Pentest Plus, it is a certification which is provided by a CompTIA. He is the vendor of it, right? How many hours question paper will be there for Pentest Plus? What all job roles we will be landing on? What sort of questions will be you guys will be encountering while giving the examination? All those things. Perfect. So let me do one thing. Let me just share the screen for that as well. Okay. So if you look, guys, CompTIA is the vendor of your Pentest Plus, right? As I already mentioned, and moreover, they are changing, from this code to October 2021. So till now, the version which we are following is PTO 001. Okay, and it was launched from July 31st, 2018. Okay, and if you ask about number of questions, guys, you can see maximum number of 85 questions will be there in your exam, right? And the types of question will be a performance based and multiple choices. Okay, so they will be listing out a question. It can be scenario based, as you mentioned, Bhanuprata. That's absolutely right. So if you talk about questions, right? We were talking about scenarios and questions, how they might be appearing in your examination. So it will be a multiple choice and performance based, as I mentioned before. So what will happen? They will be, giving you a scenario based question. Okay, they will be setting up a conditions there, like in your organization, something this sort of a vulnerability got encountered while doing a pen test plus. So what is this vulnerability all about, right? Or where does it stands into the severity level, right? These sort of a questions you guys will be encountering while giving your examination. Okay, so they will be setting up a situation there, and according to that situation, so what they will be doing, they will be giving you options. It can be 4, sometimes it can be 5 as well. So among those options, you have to opt the correct one. Okay, so this is how the examination will be there. All right, and length of the test will be of 165 minutes. Okay, and the passing score will be of 750. Okay, and if you talk about the jobs that use CompTIA PenTest Plus, you can be a penetration tester, vulnerability tester, security analyst, right? Vulnerability assessment analyst, network security operations, application security vulnerability as well, isn't it? So it's a pretty good course, right? You will be learning a lot. If you talk about the skills you will be developing by opting for the PenTest Plus, it says what skills will you learn? Planning and scoping, information gathering and vulnerability identification, attacks and exploits, penetration testing tools, reporting and communication, right? So if we talk about planning and scoping, so it will be, as it's mentioned, explain the importance of planning and key aspects of compliance-based assessment also. In this, what you will be doing, you will be planning and scoping each and everything regarding your pen testing, right? You will be having this agreement with an organization that what all systems or what all set of servers or networks you can, you will be doing a testing on. Getting my point? That's your planning and scoping. You will be planning each and everything. Each and every terms and condition will be, declare in this phase, like at what time of hours will you be doing pen testing, whether it be on site or off or from the remote location, right? So that's your planning and scoping. Then you have the skills of information gathering and vulnerability identification. So information gathering, it's also known as a reconnaissance as well, right? You'll be gathering information to prepare for the exploitation of that particular vulnerability, which you'll be finding out here, right? And then you'll be analyzing the results. Then you have attacks and exploits. You will be exploiting all those vulnerability based out of your networks, your wireless applications of devices, your each and every bit. So you'll be exploiting those vulnerabilities here. Then penetration testing tools, what all tools we'll be using to do those exploits. Moreover, you will also get to know regarding the scriptings like Bash, Python, Ruby, PowerShell here. And then at the end, it mentioned reporting and communication. So after all, right, whenever you are opted for doing a pen testing, you have to create a report at the very end. In that report, what you will be doing, you will be mentioning all those scopings, right? Regarding that scoping, you will be telling, okay, in this particular area, in this particular version or network or any port, you found this vulnerability. So you'll be mentioning, okay, I use this tool, I use this command, and I got this result out of it. Moreover, like, you guys have heard about SQL injection and everything, those web-based attacks, right? So what can happen, after doing a SQL injection, you guys know, you are able to retrieve like, a very much of a important information regarding a user, isn't it? Am I right? You can get a lot of PII of that particular person, right? So you will be reporting in a report, you can say what you will be doing if you performed a SQL injection first, okay? If you perform a SQL injection, you will be, mentioning, you took a screenshot, okay? I did this SQL injection, I use this command. You will take a screenshot out of it. Whatsoever the output will be there. Let's say if we got a, let's say take an example of Mr. Shri. So I did a SQL injection and there I was able to get a lot of information regarding Shri. So what I will be doing, I will be taking a screenshot of that page and I will be mentioning in my report, okay, I use this command, I use this, SQL injection, and after that, I got these many details regarding a particular user. So in report, you will be maintaining all these things. You will be, writing a report and handling best practices, explaining recommended mitigation strategies for discovered vulnerabilities. Correct? Clear with the skills, guys? So moving on, as the agenda says, we'll be doing with the planning and scoping. We'll be dealing with the information gathering, and we'll be trying to put some hands on scanning as well. Okay, perfect. Just to, beforehand, since the topic says itself, it's a beginner's guide to Pentest Plus, right? So we'll be learning few basic things here, isn't it? So since many of you people might be new here, correct? That's absolutely different from based on the vendors, right? CH is from the EC Council, Pentest is from the CompTIA one. Moreover, what we tell is a bit more different in Pentest Plus regarding more machines will be solved here, more tools, and many more new scanning techniques will be told you here in this Pentest Plus. So it's described in more. So we'll be looking for a few basics of Linux, very quickly one, just the basics one, and then first of all we'll be covering the whole agenda as well. So about InfosecTrain, guys, we established in 2016 and we are one of the finest security and technology training and consulting company out there. We have a wide range of professional training programs, certifications and consulting services in the IT and cybersecurity domain. We provide a high quality technical services, certification or customized training programs curated with professions of over 15 years of combined experience in the domain. Okay, and if you talk about our endorsements, we have 4+ years of services, 70+ pool of trainers, 150+ course offering, right? 100+ corporate delivery, 10+ valued partners, and 15,000+ professional train. And these are our trusted clients, right? You can have a quick look in this. Citrix, Samsung, Infosys, Genpact, HP, VMware, Microsoft, Deloitte, HCL, Oracle, Capgemini, Accenture, Cognizant, right? So these are our trusted clients. Okay. Moving on, Why InfosecTrain? We have certified and experienced instructors. We have flexible modes of training. We provide access to the recorded sessions. We have a tailor-made training as well, and we also provide post-training completions, right? So we have a flexible modes of training, as in, if you guys are living outside of India, let's suppose anywhere in the world, we provide, flexible training according to your time zone as well. Okay. And moreover, whatsoever the training is done, all those, recordings will be available to you guys. So let's say if you have a 4 to 8 hours of a session in a day, so you will be provided those recording the very next day in a day or two, right? So we give the access to the recorded sessions as well. And moreover, we have a tailor-made training program. So let's say if there is a client participant who wants to, put his training in a more custom way, we can always do that as well, right? Perfect. That was a quick introduction regarding these things. Let's proceed further and let's talk about penetration testing. So guys, what is a penetration testing? So in general way, we can say, right, like it is a security process of evaluating your computer system's application for vulnerabilities and any of a susceptibility to threats like hackers and cyber attacks, isn't it? Right? So if we talk about penetration testing, right, first of all, let's see what is an vulnerability assessment, right? So the practice of evaluating a computer, a network or application to identify any potential weakness is known as your vulnerability assessment, isn't it, guys? Right? Now, if we talk about penetration testing, or you can say pen testing, it is the practice of evaluating a computer, network or application to identify potential vulnerabilities and then exploiting them to gain unauthorized access to key systems and data there. And finally, what you are doing, you are reaching to the production of evidence and a report. That's your penetration testing. If you can look with the figure, we are using vulnerability assessment as well, but moreover, we are doing what? We are exploiting them to gain unauthorized access as well, isn't it? Right? So in vulnerability assessment, what you do, you practice of, evaluating a computer network or application to identify potential weakness there. So you identify weakness to this point. But in pen testing, what you are doing, you are exploiting them, right? You are trying to get the data out of it. And then you are doing what? You are gathering all those evidence and creating a report after it, so that the organization can mitigate all those vulnerabilities. Correct? So if we talk about benefits of pen testing, benefits of the pen testing are testing cyber defense capabilities, revealing vulnerabilities, finding security holes, right? Supporting risk management, ensuring business continuity, isn't it? And many more are there. Like, you can say maintaining trust, protecting clients and partners and others, right? Protecting your organization reputation as well, isn't it? And enhancing your quality there, right? That's your benefits of pen testing. So if we move on, next says process commonly used for pen testing, right? So if you look at the figure, guys, the very first one is your normal cyber attack. If you know about the phases of the normal cyber attack, the very first one is your what? Reconnaissance. What's the reconnaissance, guys? Absolutely. It's a information gathering, isn't it? Most of you say footprinting as well, right? So if we talk about cyber attack, we do reconnaissance, we do scanning, we do gaining access, then maintaining access and covering tracks. But if we talk about pen test, so what we do, as we mentioned before, we do planning, right? It includes project scope, their logistics, what we'll be using, and other preliminary activities as well. Then there is reconnaissance, scanning. Reconnaissance is passive and active information gathering. Scanning, deeper than reconnaissance, you can say, right? And you can begin with the vulnerability assessment at this part. Then we have gaining access. We begin to exploit, based on information from earlier stages, isn't it? Then we do the maintaining access. Maintaining access, you ensure continuing access and find new targets as well. Then we have covering tracks. So in covering tracks, what you do, you destroy the evidence of exploits here, isn't it? Then we have analysis. In analysis, what we do, we identify vulnerabilities, causes, and recommendations for corrections of them. And at the end, we have reporting. which we have discussed before, like official communication to the stakeholders and all those, implementing a document for that. So that's your pen test and how it differs from your cyber attack. Clear with this one? Then we have, guys, planning and scoping. So let's talk about planning and scoping. So you'll be planning all your approaches, your what tools you'll be using, right? And all this thing will be done under your planning and scoping. So moving on with planning and scoping, first of all, it says who you should know who is the target audience. So guys, what do you understand by who is the target audience here? Who's your victim? Who's your client, right? So what happens is when you are testing different types of information system, right, it will obviously affect the target audience composition, right? As in their host, their networks are going to get affected, their web servers, their application and databases as well, isn't it? So you should know what does the business do, what are their objective. So you need to know all this to properly plan the pen test there, right? Isn't it? Then moving on to who is the target audience, then we have to determine what? We have to determine the budgeting part as well. So see what happens, guys. Technical considerations are often the first things that penetration testers think about, right? But budgeting is also a major part of the business process of penetration testing. So determining a budget and staying within it can make the difference between a feasible, successful business and a failed effort, right? So the budget required to complete a penetration test is determined by the scope and rules of engagement. Okay. If we talk about internal penetration testers, a budget may simply involve the allocation of time, right? If you're talking about insiders, the internal penetration testers, which are already hired by the organization, right? So they involve the allocation of time for the team to conduct the penetration test, isn't it? But if we talk about external testers, a budget normally starts from an estimated number of hours based on the complexity of the test. The size of the team is also taken into the consideration here, and any cost associated with that test, right? So in short, when you talk about budgeting, it obviously plays a vital role here as it controls many factors in the pen test, right? Like if you have a large budget, you can perform like a test in more depth, isn't it? You can increase the timeline for testing also. You can increase the scope, you can increase the resources as well, right? The number of people, the technology and those tools as well, correct? So since services provided must be worth the money that is spent, hence budget has a significant effect on the pen test scope, right? Moving on to the next part in your planning and scoping, you should be knowing about your resources and requirements. So what do you understand by resources and requirements, guys? See, the goal of a pen test plan is to clearly define the parameters of the pen test engagement, right? Like it will be determining what resources will be made available to the testing team and what requirements are expected from the testing team is defined in resource and requirements. So there is one thing which is confidentiality of findings, which is to be considered when there is a listing of requirements. Okay, confidentiality of finding means that during the course of pen test, it is assumed that there is a pretty good possibility of sensitive information getting discovered, isn't it, by the testing team, right? So client is very likely to include this confidentiality provisions in the engagement plan so that it helps to ensure that the information discovered during the pen test is shared with the appropriate entities. For example, let's say if a pen tester finds a SQL injection vulnerability in the company's public facing website, then obviously, guys, organization will want the pen tester to keep this information confidential, right? To minimize the risk, isn't it? And moreover, the requirement might also set restrictions like to which privileged person shall the pen tester inform this issue of vulnerability, right? Example, like IT managers only and not standard employees, that part, right? That's your resources and requirements. After resource and requirement, you have to know about the communication path as well, right? Communication path, like any as in penetration tester, they should clearly define their communication path during the planning stages of the engagement. By defining communication path in advance, what you are doing, it provides testers with an easy way to answer to requests for information made by the organization's managing system, right? Adding on to this, a penetration tester should also establish a rhythm of communication with their clients to provide a periodic status updates, isn't it? If we talk about, like, one common way to achieve this is to set up a meeting with key stakeholders where the penetration testers and client will be discussing issues and they will be providing updates on the progress of the test. Okay, in short, you have to determine who do we communicate with about the test, right? What information will be communicated and when, and who is a trusted agent if testing goes wrong. So that's your part of a communication path. Clear with it? Then you should also determine regarding technical constraints. So technical constraints are the things that cannot be changed under any circumstances, right? That's why we call them constraints. So we define all these things in your planning and scoping. So what actually your technical constraint does is that it limit your choices here. They get fixed. So any change to the technical specification can affect your project planning. Okay. So like technical constraints may limit the frequency of scanning conducted by the pen tester. For example, if we say the scanning system may only be capable of performing a certain number of scans per day, an organization may need to adjust the scan frequency to ensure that all scans complete successfully. Got it? So, and then what you have to do, you have to provide the status in your report, like, like it got tested, it got not tested, or it can't be tested. So these things also you determine while doing your planning and scoping regarding your technical constraints. Then moving on, we are planning and scoping. We have a pretty good thing here, which goes by the name rules of engagement, right? So the rules of engagement, ROE, they are meant to list out the specifics of your pen testing project here, like to ensure that the client and the professionals working on a project know exactly what is being tested, when it is being tested, and how it's being tested, right? So here are ROEs on the basis of timeline, locations, time restrictions, transparency, and test boundaries. So let's look at them one by one. So very first will be your timeline here. So in timeline, you set up what, like how long will the test be conducted? A week, a month, or any year, right? And what task will be performed and how long will each be planned for. So everything will be mentioned in your rules of engagement regarding your timeline. Got it? Then we have the next one, which is your locations. So in location, what happens? The location of the test team in relation to the organization, or your client needs to be agreed upon here. Okay. Depending on many factors like, how many locations an organization occupies, where will the testers be located, on site or the remote location, whether or not remote installation are in different nations, right? So the parties should agree and record the amount of travel required to conduct a pen test. So everything here is mentioned in your ROE of locations. Okay, clear with that? Will you be going to the on-site to do the penetration testing, or will you be doing it from the remote location? If you are doing on-site, where is it? Like, is it very far? So all the amount which is requiring for the traveling will be, everything will be discussed in this part. Clear? Moving on to the next one is your time restrictions. So what it does, it tells you about days and times your individual tests can be performed. Like, are there certain times that aren't authorized for a pen tester to do a pen testing? Like, will the timing of the penetration test be known by the organization's defenders? Will it be performed during peak or off peak hours of the organization? Like, you'll be discussing about what about days of the week, how many days will you be doing pen testing in a week? Like, say if you're doing Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, like how many days will be there? 4 day, 5 day, or 7 days a week? And moreover, like, when we'll be providing the holidays also. What about holidays? Like, when will be the holiday going off with the pen testing? So everything, these things will be determined in your time restrictions. Okay. Then we have transparency. We talk about communications here, right? Who will know about the pen test? What resources will be provided to the testers? Will the organization provide resources to the testers or not? Like if we talk about white box testing, we provide the resources to them, isn't it? Right? So that will be occurring in your transparency. Moving on with the next is your boundaries. So it's pretty clear with the name. Boundary will be determining what will be tested. Is social engineering allowed to be used or not? What about physical security testing? Whether we can test the physical security or not? Like, do we have to bypass them or not? Like, how invasive can the pen test be? So each and everything will be determined in your boundaries section. Absolutely, do and don'ts, right? Clear with the boundaries? So when you're talking about pen testing, planning and scoping, right? We always should know about the legal concepts as well. So, since it is very important for pen tester to understand legal concepts like service agreements, the master service agreements that define the overall contract between organizations for engagement, your SOW, your statement of work that define the deliverables for those engagements, and your NDA, your non-disclosure agreement that protect the data and information involved in a penetration testing, right? So you must also be aware of the legal and regulatory environment in which both you and your target operate, so that your testing process and tools are legal. Okay, and lastly, it is very important to ensure that appropriate legal agreements will be there, like with approvals from proper signing authorities are in place, so that you are covered and safe whenever an event goes wrong. Okay, so nobody will be able to point towards you. That is why these will be helping you out a lot. Clear with the legal concepts? Then moving on, there is also local and national restrictions. Okay, see, laws and regulation, guys, it varies, from country to country, right? Your laws and regulation regarding your cyber crime, it vary from country to country. So check the local laws before conducting an assessment there. You have to consult your attorney before performing any penetration testing work to ensure you are within the legal bounds for the country's laws where you are operating. Okay, you have to look out for crime and criminal procedures. There are many sections listed having procedures to follow, right? Like, they'll be mentioning like mandatory penalties for anyone who access a computer in an unauthorized manner or exceed one's access rights. So there will be, punishment for that as well. Like, there will be something like it can be used to prosecute or conduct legal proceeding against employees using capability and accesses provided by the company to conduct any fraudulent activity as well, right? So there are many more. If you want a blog regarding that, I have a link for that. If you want that, it is based for Indians ones, so you can always check it out. It will give you a slight idea regarding these things. Okay, perfect. Moving on, there is obtain written authorization. So white hat hackers always get permission, right? So this works as a jail-free card for them. So why is it called jail-free card? It's the document that you would produce if something went wrong. Okay, like permission from the appropriate party can help you to stay out of trouble if something goes wrong, right? So penetration test can expose confidential information, as we discussed before, right? So permissions must be granted for that, and that will be working as your jail-free card, so that later on anyone or an organization cannot point out at you and they will not throw you in any sort of a trouble. So that's that's why you need to take and obtain a written authorization for doing a pen testing, because there are chances you can confidential information can leak out and can get exposed basically. So for that matter, you should always have a written authorization and you should be granted the permission as well. Got it? Then we have third party authorization. What do you understand by third party authorization? See, additional authorization may be needed for many penetration tests, especially those, for those that have complex IT infrastructure, right? So third parties are often used to host system, right? Such as software as a service, platform as a service, or infrastructure as a service, right? SaaS, PaaS, or IaaS. Remember, isn't it? These are the services provided by a third party. Yeah, simply cloud computing. Absolutely. Right? When you take software as a service, that's your SaaS. When you take a platform as a service, that's your PaaS. When you take infrastructure as a service, that's your IaaS. Right? Take an example. Quick example about SaaS would be like your Google Docs, which you generally use, right? So that's your SaaS. That's more related to your cloud computing, but that's your third party, isn't it? Am I right? So these are given by your, provided by your cloud. So a complete test could impact these providers as well. Thus, it is important to determine what third-party providers are like, or partners may be in scope and to obtain their authorization. So you have to take their authorization as well. Okay. And importantly, most importantly, you should make sure that you make both your customer and the third party aware of potential impacts from your penetration testing. Okay. Then we have contracts. What do you understand by contracts, guys? In contracts, we have SOW, MSA, NDA, though we have discussed already, but still, what's an SOW? Scope of work, right? So in scope of work, a statement of work here, right? Statement of work. So it is like, formal document stating scope of what will be performed during a penetration testing, right? Then we have MSA. What's a MSA? MSA stands for your what? Master Service Agreement, right? MSA stands for Master Service Agreement. So it is a contract made between two or more parties in which what they do, in which they both agree to most of the terms used to govern any future agreements or future transaction. So if we talk about this is kind of an agreement like which is very useful as what, as it allows parties to negotiate any further or any future agreements and transactions quickly. You can think of a master service agreement as foundations for any business conducted in the future. Okay. The thing that makes it so appealing is that repeated negotiation doesn't have to involve all of the terms. Okay, but only those will be there which are related to the deal or at hand at that particular moment. Okay, that's your MSA. Then we have NDA. NDA stands for what? So NDA is your non disclosure agreement. So what do you understand by NDA, guys? So legal, contract outlining any confidential material or information that will be shared during the assessment and what restrictions are placed on it are shared in your non-disclosure agreement, right? So you cannot disclose those confidential information to any other party, right? So each and everything which is mentioned in your NDA, it remains between you two, right? Moving on to the next one, it's your testing strategies. So if we talk about testing strategies, you can see, we have black box testing, we have white box testing, we have gray box testing, right? So it tells you what do corporate policies allow you to do, right? Like have employees waive their privacy, what policies should be tested, should be test their password strength and reuse of that, like BYOD is there, bring your own device, all these things are tested in this one. So if we talk about these testing phases like your black box testing, white box testing and gray box testing, going on with the very first one, which is a black box testing. What is a black box testing, guys? So black box test, sometimes it is also known as your what? It is known as your zero knowledge, right? They're also known as a zero knowledge test, and they are intended to replicate what an attacker would encounter. Means it will be like the same how an attacker who have no knowledge of your organization will attack, isn't it? So testers here are not provided with access to, or you can say, information about an environment. And now they must gather information, they discover vulnerabilities now and make their way through an infrastructure or system as an attacker would, right? So this can be time consuming for sure for the penetration tester, but it can better reveal what vulnerabilities might be exploited by someone starting from nothing or starting with nothing, right? And it can also help you to analyze how secure the target is against an attacker of similar or lesser skill, right? So in short, you can say no prior knowledge of target or network is there, and it simulates like an outsider attack and only focus on what external attacks see and ignores the insider threat. And it takes more time and is much more expensive compared to others. Perfect. Moving on with the next one, which is your gray box testing. So what do you understand by gray box testing? So gray box testing or gray box test are, you can say, like a blend of black box and white box testing. A gray box test may provide some information about the environment to the penetration tester without giving full access, all those credentials or configuration details. So a partial knowledge of the target is being passed here. So it can be used as an internal test to simulate an insider attack with minimal knowledge. And it can also be used to decrease the information gathering stage. So more time can be spent on identifying vulnerabilities here, right? For example, if I provide you an IP range, right, that can be in your gray box testing, and company email is also provided to create any phishing campaigns for, say, or if I give you, few credentials to do the testing, that can be your gray box testing. If we talk about black box testing, let's say if I say like do a black box testing on InfosecTrain and I'm giving you no details, I'm just saying do the testing of InfosecTrain, that will be a black box. And if I give you the IP range and if I provide you some credentials, you can say that will be your, and if I tell you, look, okay, it's working on PHP and it is an Apache server, so it can be your gray box testing. Getting it? Right. So moreover, you are saving the time here. And moving on to the next one, which is your white box testing. What's a white box testing now? It has full knowledge of the target, right? Full knowledge of the target or the systems and the infrastructures here, right? So, spend more time in probing vulnerabilities and less time in gathering information, right? So tester is given support, support resources from the organization side. So generally provided only for a white box penetration test. Okay. So let's say, moreover, like if I told you, source code is there, and if I'm telling you the architectural design, can we say that's a white box testing? Right? In architecture design, I'm providing the whole network diagrams, the software flow charts, the physical maps of organization facilities. It assists the tester in mapping out network topologies, location of switch closets, and where key information systems are located, right? And moreover, what I can do, I can provide you the SDK documentation as well, isn't it? Like the software development kit, right? It provides a set of tools, libraries, documentation, code samples, processes, guides, everything to allow faster development of a new application on a platform. So if I give you these things, it's like a white box testing, because I'm giving you a lot of information, a full complete knowledge regarding your target. Clear with the white box testing? So since what happens, when organization conducts, all these black box penetration testing, one of the first question it will ask is, who would attack us and why, right? Who would attack us and why? So answering that question can help management make decisions about how a penetration test is conducted, what techniques are considered in the engagement, the scope of the test, and who they will hire to conduct. Okay, so for that we have this threat adversaries. Okay, threat adversaries. So as you continue guys going down the threat actors adversary tiers, the threat and adversary poses it increases. Can you look at that? First is the script kiddies, then is your hacktivists, then we have professional black hats, then we have organized crimes, then we have APTs, right? So as you're moving down, as you're going down in your threat adversaries, they have more damage or seriousness in your attack, right? So you can see script kiddies is there, professional hackers, black hat hackers is there, organized crime is there, APT is there, national state level attackers like APTs, right? So if they enter your threat radar, the likelihood of a successful attack and compromise increases there at this point. Okay, this means that you should assume that a breach will occur and you have to plan accordingly. Okay, if in your radar you can see APTs or organized crime or the professional black hats, that means there's a very good likelihood that a successful attack has been happened, and your systems can get compromised. So you should assume that the breach will occur for sure, and you have to plan accordingly, because they are very professional and they have very good knowledge regarding tools and everything. Okay, so these are threat adversaries, in which you have listed down all these hackers, and as you go down, the seriousness or the chances of getting breach, it increases. Perfect. So since we are talking about threat adversaries, we also talk about threat actors, right? So if you look in the screen, it says internal, external, right? We have script kiddies, we have hacktivists, we have black hats, we have APTs. So what do you understand by internal and external? So as with the black, gray, white box strategy, effectively scoping and engagement involves determining what different types of attackers will be out there, right? So some organizations are primarily concerned with external threats. So if we talk about threat actor, what is a threat actor? A threat actor is an entity that is partially or wholly responsible for an incident that affects or has potential to affect an organization's security. Okay, they are also known as your malicious actors. Okay, they are also known as your malicious actors. So if we talk about internal or insider threat actor is the one that has been granted permissions on the system. It involves someone from within the organization. Insiders include present, or you can say the past employees, the contractors or the partners, or any person that has access to confidential information. That's your insider or internal threat. Okay, then we have external threat. External threat can be what? It can be someone not from inside the organization, but from the outside that can enter to the security system of the company using malwares or any social engineering techniques, right? Then we have script kiddies. What's a script kiddies, guys? So script kiddies are the one, like, you can say they are the novice one, right? Isn't it? Or you can say they are the inexperienced hacker, right? Right? They are the inexperienced hackers with limited technical knowledge, you can say, and who really, who rely on automated tools to hack into targets. Those who will do what? They will be copying and pasting the scripts without knowing how they actually work or what they mean. They will just copy, they will just see the title, okay, this will be working for this, they will just Google it out and they will try to use that script. So in short, what we can do, we can call them as a novice and a curious minds, but they do not have detailed knowledge or in-depth knowledge regarding the tools and your pen testing or your hacking, right? Since we are talking about threat actors, correct? That's your script kiddies. Then we have hacktivists. What's a hacktivist, guys? Those who have the purpose, right, for the particular agenda or political ideology, isn't it? That's your hacktivist, correct? So basically, this term is divided into two, hack plus activist, right? Hack plus activist, isn't it? So they gain unauthorized access and cause disruption in computer system in attempt to achieve political or social change, right? So you can say they have a political agenda to perform their attack. Can anyone give me the example of hacktivist? So I will just listing one, which is your anonymous. I guess it's pretty famous in the common one, right? You might have heard in this in your Black Lives Matter, right? And in your Paris attack as well. So these were also there, right? Then we have black hat. What does a black hat hacker is? Who all are they? Those who have the malicious intentions here. So since we are talking about black hats, we have white hat hackers as well. What's the white hat hackers, guys? These are the ones, that goes by the books or the rules, right? Isn't it? That's your white hat hacker, correct? Then we have also your gray hat hacker. What's a gray hat hacker? So we can call them as an opportunist also. Like, what happened, like for an example, let's say there is an, gray hat hacker. So what he did, he was, pen testing a organization, just testing it out without the, whole agreement and everything. So he just tested out and he found some vulnerabilities there. So he went to the organization and he spoke to the person who is responsible, for all this communication and everything. He said, okay, I found these vulnerabilities in your server, in your network, or you can say in your system. So for that, I need some, you can say a small amount of token of money for that as a, bounty purpose, you can say. But the person, what he did from the organization, he denies for that. So what the gray hat hacker will be doing, he will be going back and he'll be listing all those things in the dark web, you can say, right? So you can say this is like an opportunity. Initially, he do not have the malicious intent, but later on, he can go that way as well. So that's why we call them as an opportunist. Okay, so they see an opportunity and they shift towards it and take advantage out of it. Okay, so moreover, APTs is there. What's an APTs, guys? So they use cybercrime to achieve political and any military goals, right? So APT commonly use several attack vectors to ensure their success in gaining unauthorized access to information, right? Absolutely right. And for a long time they be in your system, right? So guys, in cybersecurity, an attack vector is a method or a pathway used by a hacker to access or penetrate the target system. Okay, hackers steal information, data and money from people and organization by investing known attack vectors. That's your attack vectors. Okay, attack vector is a method or pathway used by a hacker to access or penetrate the target system. That's your attack vector for you. Clear? Okay. Few more are there, like black hat we are done. We are done with the gray hat, semi-authorized, you can say white hat hacker. Then we have suicide hackers. What do you understand by suicide hackers, guys? So you can list those guys in your suicide hackers, right? Those who knows the outcome, okay? They know the outcome, but they still make that call, right? They know, okay, if we are going to hack this thing and we are gonna get in trouble, like we can get a life imprisonment and all those things, but still they are gonna take that call and they will try to hack it. That's a suicide hacker. Then we have cyber terrorist. What's a cyber terrorist? See, cyber terrorists, whenever we talk about cyber terrorists, we can mention the ones who deal with loss of human life, right? For example, if you guys have heard about Stuxnet, this one, right? A malware implemented and it almost compromised the nuclear power plant in Iran, right? So that's your cyber terrorist. All right. Since we are talking about about these, we always talk about their intent also, their intentions, right? So what do you understand by intent here? Like, greed or money, right? That can be the intent. Anything else? Fame. Yep. You can say that. What else? Luxury. Absolutely. Motive. Yes. If they have a political motivation, they are like, we can say the motive also here in this part. What else? We can also list revenge as well, isn't it? or blackmail. Yep, absolutely. We can say blackmail also. Correct. Display the power. Correct. And if they want to get more reputation, or they want to destroy the reputation of an organization or something like that, you can also put this thing here. And like fame is already mentioned, or you can say the recognition. Correct. So these things can be listed in your intentions, right? So since we are talking about planning and scoping, you should know about your target selection also, right? So when we talk about target selection, guys, what do you understand by that? So according to your target, like it can be a first party or third party hosted, you check and put in your scope these things. Then according to that, you do your planning and scoping, right? Like, are the target hosted by the organization or by a third party service provider? According to that, you have to do what? You have to maintain your planning and scoping. Then if you talk about physical, right, are we like contracted to test physical security, right? Should we attempt to break into the facility? That thing is also discussed in your planning and scoping. Then in users, if we talk about users, like, is social engineering authorized or not? Like, are particular users being targeted or not, considering as a part of the assessment? So these things are also mentioned in your planning and scoping. If we talk about wireless and SSIDs, like, is wireless pen testing being conducted in the organization or not? Are there any SSID out of scope? Like, guest or public networks are there or not? So these things are also mentioned in your planning and scoping. While you have to specify your targets. You have to select your targets, and according to them, you have to plan each and every bit of your pen testing. Clear with this? Perfect. So since regarding users, I mentioned social engineering, though we'll be discussing on later on as well. What do you understand by social engineering, guys? Since I have mentioned it a lot of time, just a quick one liner. So social engineering is moreover dealing with the human interaction, right? Doesn't it? You play it psychologically, right? You manipulate the people, you interact with them, you take advantage of their trust, right? And you fool them around, or you can say you manipulate them in giving you crucial and any confidential information, right? That's your social engineering attack. Later on we'll be discussing more about it, okay? But this is just like a one liner regarding a social engineering attack. It got many like Oman also mentioned, eavesdropping is there, dumpster diving is there, right? Spear phishing is there. Your phishing, which we generally, phishing emails, everyone might have encountered these things. Phishing email, you get a malicious email in your email account, and they'll be mentioning a link over there. So that's your social engineering attack. We'll be talking about it later on, but for now, that's social engineering attack. Perfect. So moving on, we have information gathering. What do you understand by information gathering, guys? Remember, as I mentioned in the very starting, that if we talk about steps of all these testing and everything, there's reconnaissance of footprinting there. Remember that whenever you do a cyber attack or whenever you do a pen testing, after planning and scoping, we have a reconnaissance or your information gathering, right? So information gathering, as I mentioned, it is one of the most important and crucial step of your pen testing. Correct? Yes, it can be active or passive one. So in this step, like, we don't directly interact with the user. If you talk about the passive one, we gather the information about the target and starts narrowing it down, right? For example, if I say I want to gather information about any one of you, right? So what I will do, I will look out for that person in Google, isn't it? I will look out for that person in the Google. Absolutely. Yes, OSINT is there. Social media, right? So I will try to find him on, like, Facebook, look out for his addresses, his likes, his dislikes, his numbers, his activities, right? So I will look out for all these things. I will look out his social media platforms like Instagram also. If he write blogs, I will look out for his blogs, his LinkedIn profile, and all these bits. So in short, what I am doing, I have to gather information and narrow it down, right? That's your footprinting, or you can say your information gathering, or your reconnaissance, right? Clear with this? So what you do, you narrow down your research, correct? So moving on, if I talk about this, so what I will do, I will just explain you in the paint one, guys. So let's say something like this is here. Just a minute for that. Perfect. So as I said, what is footprinting? It is narrowing down the information of the target. So let's say if I say you have to hack any person systems or any organization, so will you be able to hack it or do the pen testing of it? If I say you have to do a pen testing of an organization or any system or any persons, so would you be able to do that? Right? But for that, what you have to do? You have to do the gathering of the information. Am I right? You have to do the information gathering for that. Correct? So let's say if I said, with the name, it's just a big word to find a specific person or an organization, right? So you can say you are at this point. Getting it? Right? You're at this phase, the outer world, right? Perfect. Now, what you do, you narrow down a bit by getting a bit more information about the target, like, his place, his country, right? Something. Now you narrow it down at this point. Correct? Now you do what? You get more close to the target. You get specific informations about the target, which will help in gaining the most crucial information out of it. Right? So let's say you narrow down more here till this point. And at finally you got what this is like a vital information, you can say, like if you are able to get the IP of the system which you have to do the pen testing of, right? So that will be like at this phase. So in short, what are you doing? You are narrowing down all the details to get the specific information which will help us to do the pen testing of a system, or say help us to do a good testing of that particular system, that network or a server. Getting it? Right? So if we talk about information, what it can be, information can be types of like operating system details, isn't it? The IP, employees, correct? Their phone number. What else? Network information can be there, perfect. Their email, in short, those PII ones, geolocation, okay, perfect. Absolutely good one. DNS also, right? Websites, okay, perfect. As I said, this is something where you will passively, gather information about the target without directly interacting with them. Right? Clear with this? So it says what kind of information are we looking to find, phone numbers, as we mentioned, right? Phone numbers is there, contact names, email address, security related information, job posting, resumes, right? So how can be these useful, guys? Job posting or resumes. So that's your job posting and resume, like with the job posting, what you can do, you can determine all those, regarding what sort of technicalities a company is using or organization is using, right? What sort of a server they are using. For example, if you see here, a job posting was there, like regarding a PHP developer, right? Some company, and job title says senior PHP developer, location is New Delhi, India, and he reports to program manager, status is full-time regular, and skill required is Apache Server, Coding Nighter, MySQL Server. So with this job posting, what what sort of information can you determine, guys? So see, if we got to know these things are being used, wouldn't be very useful for a pen tester, or if we talk about as an attacker as well, wouldn't these things be very useful for him? Yes, right? So there are different ways, different techniques regarding gathering information, right? So we'll be discussing a lot here. So what we'll be doing, we'll be listing out many more ways to do the information gathering, and we'll be going through them one by one. Okay, we'll be checking out few tools, online tools, and googling feature as well regarding your information gathering. Sounds good? All right. So let me do one thing. Let me get back to the paint, and we'll be discussing about it more regarding your footprinting and information gathering. All right. Perfect. So guys, if you are talking about target, what could be our possible target be? like when I'm trying to gather the information, what will be our possible targets? Can we say a person is also a target? And we can also say an organization as well. Am I right? Perfect. So these two are the major ones which we can list in the targets list, correct? So we'll be talking about, person and organization in both respective, but let's talk about person first. Okay. When I say you have to, passively grab as many as information about the person, what will you do, guys? Like, what will be your strategy? Great. For that, first of all, like, everyone will be Googling it. Am I right? Google it, right? Search engine. So anyone you want to gather information about, the very first thing you do is you hit the Google for it, right? Google will give, you a lot of links with respect to social network, correct? Social network. You can hit different social media to gather more information about the target, right? What else can you do if you want to find more information about a person, let's say? Wayback Machine, yeah, Chetan, but I will be, suggesting that to go for the organization part, right? Social contacts, absolutely fine. Have you guys heard about people search engine? Right. So we have websites where you can actually go out and look for different people. You can give their name and it bring out details for you. Okay, we'll look into it. Okay, I'll walk you through this one as well. So how else can you get the details of a particular person, guys? Have you guys heard about yellow pages? It's like a phone search directory, right? Phone directory or information directory for all the people, right? They are almost obsolete, right? But if you are lucky enough and gets your hands on one of it, it can be pretty much useful, doesn't it? If I say job sites, what about job sites, like regarding resume only, right? So can I say job site as well, right? The resume part. So guys, tell me, how many of you have ever uploaded your resume somewhere? Most of you have done it, right? Everyone, I believe. So did you get a job by your resume? Most of you might have got it, right? So how many times have you brought down your resume of that particular website after getting the job? Not at all, never, isn't it? So now tell me how easy it is for me to open an account on a job portal, impersonating or like, trying to be an HR recruiter with fake name, an ID and an email. So will I be able to access your resume now? Isn't it? And tell me how many times the information in your resume are correct. Almost all the time, isn't it? Right? Except the skills part, isn't it? Yeah. So I can get lots of information from it, right? And as an, a pen tester, in that perspective, it is like a lottery to me, right? So we can say job sites here, job sites or job portals, you want to say. There are many more portals, right? uh can I say matrimonial sites also? Social engineering attacks can be listed here if we talk about, dumpster diving and everything, but we'll be talking about it later on. But you can list them here. Dumpster diving, or if I say, shoulder surfing, isn't it? That can be listed here, right? So these can be things regarding your person. Now let's talk about organization. For organization, I believe that will be the same, the niche ones. You know, we can Google it. We have company website also. Through shoulder surfing, we can get a sort of information, regarding any, if you're talking about the card details or something, like if he's in any organization, something like that. If you're able to do the shoulder surfing, you'll be able to see, like, even in case he's filling up a form, you can say, like, he's in bank, he's filling up a form. You can do a shoulder surfing and you can see what all details he's listing in his form, right? What was perfect, you can say that. But initially, we can say, company website, social website, hiring platforms, absolutely, we can say, absolutely, yep. Hiring platforms. Have you guys heard about who dot is or who is? Yes, we can get, yeah, information with respect to domain name also. Then we have Netcraft also. Yes, have you heard about Netcraft? Perfect. Job openings. Yes, we can list job openings here as well. Oh, yellow pages we can mention here. Have you guys heard about website mirroring? Yeah. So, we have a tool with the name HTT track for that matter, right? So what it does, it can literally mirror the whole company website in your machine. Okay. It can literally mirror the whole company website in your machine, and you can browse whatever you want to browse on your machine. You don't need to go back to the website. It will be cloning a website for you. Yes, sir. Right? But if we talk about cloning a website, it's not like it will be copying all those functionality of it, right? Like the one which are on the back end side or behind the scenes, you can say in the layman terms. It won't copy all those functionalities for you. Whatsoever is visible on the front end, you can say, right? Yes, whatsoever is present in your front end, it will be copying those things for you. All right, that's your HTTP track. Then can I list Google Maps here? Can Google Map help us? So first thing is, like, it can give you the physical location of the office, right? The second thing is, now Google Maps comes with a distinctive feature. You guys know about it, which gives you the street view, doesn't it? So what you can do, you can literally get the street view of that particular organization. And in good case, okay, and in good case, what it does, it even walks you into the front door of the organization. So what I was doing, like considering the example of my own, I was simply playing around with this one, street view. So I saw a coffee shop near me. I dropped the street view on that cafe, and what I found, I was able to see the 360-degree view of that cafe, and I was able to know where all the cameras were placed. So consider it, if it was an organization, wouldn't it be helpful for you to know all the location of the cameras, right? So guys, this is not the phase where you are, doing the pen testing. You are simply gathering the information so that you can create, and do the pen test further. Getting it? No, as a pen tester, for example, as I mentioned, like if you talk about a black box pen tester, what he doesn't have a lot of information, correct? So there is a choice for him to go with the, this way around, isn't it? He have to gather information this way also, more and more. If you talk about, white box pen tester, or white box testing, or gray box testing, they already have some sort of information to, start their pen testing. But if you talk about black box, they have to go around with these sort of things and information as much, gather the information as much as possible. Getting my point, right? There are many more, like, this one, Wayback Machine, isn't it? Wayback Machine will be showing you the, the past, all those histories, and it takes a snapshot, you can say, and you can see, what all things have been changed in the website. So you can analyze those things, you can gather information. Okay, this new page has been added up, this might be the strategy, this might be the workflow of that page, and it's taking from this page to this another page, and all these things. So it holds all those, snapshots of your organization website, and you can always look out for in your Wayback Machine. Perfect. What else? Vaporizer. Can I say Vaporizer? Anyone know what is a Vaporizer? So it's the plugin which can give you, more details here regarding a website. You can download it. You can download this plugin or this extension. You can download this plugin in your browser as well. So if I just show you a quick, so if you can see, say for example, if I'm writing InfosecTrain, can you see this vaporizer here? So if I click on this, it will be giving you many more details here, right? Regarding a web server. WordPress is being used, PHP programming language is being used, database is MySQL, right? These widgets are here. For blogs, we use WordPress, that's absolutely right. Correct? So web server is your Apache. Getting it? So this is like a, pretty good tool, you can say, for your information gathering purpose. Okay, perfect. Anything else? Have you guys heard about OSINT framework? Yes, that's also one of a pretty good utility to gather information. Many more are there, guys. Yeah, it's pretty much famous. The Harvester is there, Recon NG is there, Maltico is there, right? Shodan is there. Many more are there, isn't it? Perfect. So now what we will be doing, we'll be moving on them one by one. Okay. So now the very first thing, we talked about was Googling it, right? So when we want to gather information about a particular person or an organization, what we do, we hit Google for it. Okay. So let's say I will taking one volunteer from you guys, among you. So let's say I will taking this name. Perfect. Solin Saha. So let me just do one thing. Let me open this. Perfect. Okay. So if I say, yeah, Google Docs, absolutely. This is what we are talking about, right? So if I take this example, if I search for Soren Saha, okay, if I hit enter, can you see we got pretty good list of about 77,500 results. I'm just taking a volunteer. I hope you are not one of them. If you are, just let me know. Cool. So we hit Google for it, right? So I took a name, Sorin Saha. What I did, I just typed the name and I searched for it. So if you see, we got a pretty good hit. We got a 77,500 results. Now what I'm trying to do is I will be refining these results. Okay. So what we can do now, first of all, if you see the very first result, guys, if you see the very first result, can you see https://in.linkedin.com? Is that your URL? Right? That's your URL. Perfect. So if we talk about this thing, which is Sorin Saha hyphen content expert hyphen educrack pipe LinkedIn, it's your title, isn't it? It's your title. This blue thing represents your title. And if we talk about these things, which is here in the black one, these are your what? These are your texts, right? Perfect. So you got what is your URL, what is your title, and what is your text, right? So whenever we talk about Googling things, there is a thing called Google Hacks, right? Your Google Docs, which you're talking about. So it sounds like a fancy term, but it's more like being smart around Googling things. So what I will do, I will try to search on the basis of different parameters here. So if I just write in text Soren Saha, okay. You can see the number of results are, listing down. Can you see 28,900? Can you see that? And if you check at the text section, right, it says Sorin Saha everywhere, isn't it? So it will do what? It will just bring those results which have, Sorin Saha present in their text section. Getting it? Does that make sense? Now, if we talk about, you can refine these search. If I talk about in title, it will be giving me results, Sorin Saha present in your title section. And moreover, if you look at the results, guys, it says 933 results, right? It says 933 results. So we are doing what? We are narrowing down our search. We are, we have less ground to cover as of now, doesn't it? Now you can try in URL also. It might throw you, different results at this point. Correct? So you have 502 results and Sorin Saha is present in your URL section. So all in all, what we are doing, we are narrowing down our research, okay, and we are, so that we have less ground to cover, and we can make our, information gathering more accurately and more easy way, isn't it? So just consider this. Earlier we were having 77,000 of the results, right? If you remember at the very first, when I was just typing Sorin Saha, and when I just hit the enter, we were having 77,000 results, right? So what would you prefer? Do you think looking for thousands of results is a better solution or looking for hundreds of results? Which one will you prefer? 100, right? Yes, we are filtering the results so that we have lesser ground to cover. So, If we go with the 100 results, we might get a hit there. Getting a hit as in we might find Sorin Sa in those 100 results, rather than going 77 thousands of results. The whole list will be shuffled, and you have to go to different pages and different things. So if you go with 100 of results, I would say that's a better idea, right? In case if you don't find your results among those 100 ones, then you can go with the next one, like 1000, 2000. Not going for the 77,000 directly. That would be a pretty much hectic and troublesome. That will require a more labor work for you. Make sense? Great. So as I mentioned before, as everyone is also mentioning, something which I am doing here by typing in URL in title in text, this is known as your Google Docs. Okay, there are plenty more here. Like if I talk about them, we have seen in URL, we have INTXT, we have IN title, we have file type also, right? Like if you talk about file type, and if I write PDF in front of it, so it will be giving those results in which they have PDF. So you can just directly go with PDF format right away. You don't have to go each and every page to search for a PDF or any document if you want to find for. Just go and type file type and just mention PDF after it. It will be giving you out, be throwing out those results for you, and you can easily narrow down your search. Many more are there, guys. Site is there, many more. Okay, so these something are known as your what? These are known as your Google Docs. Okay, so you can hit Google for it and search for Google Docs. You will get a database where you will find n number of Google Docs. People have done what? They have pasted Google Docs there, which they found while searching for it. So there are many more regarding these things. So if we talk about furthermore, like we have your company's website is pretty easy ones. So we were talking about people search engine, right? This people search engine. So I will just show you one thing. It is based out of US one. Okay. Can anyone tell me in security terms what does this authentication means? It denotes something you are not, right? Something you have, something you are, something you are not. Perfect, right? Something as in these patterns, pins. Something you have is like an OTP or a device, and something you are not is to represent your bot. Something you are is all those fingerprints and everything. Perfect, great. So I was just searching for Spokio. Here it is. So this is very much specific to people out of US. You can hit anyone's name and it might end up giving up results of it. Okay, let's take an example of John Smith, which is by default giving me an option here. So if I write John Smith, if I search for it, it takes a specific time, and as I said, it is specific to US. You can see that on the search bar, right? So on the box left hand side, you can see it's specific to US one. It will give out all the possible results for John Smith here. Okay, so it will be giving you can see related to includes address, phone numbers. Moreover, it also includes your emails and everything. So if you see, it gave us a pretty good list here, right? Many people are here. So those who are out of US or those who have relatives, you can search for it. It doesn't guarantee 100% results, I would say, but not 100%, but still it will be giving you a lot of hit. Okay, it might the one you are searching for might be present in this section. Okay, you can see for more results, if you click on this results, see results. Okay, things are hidden. You have to unlock profile. It's more of a like subscription based, you can say. So you can get the phone number, email address, past address, current address. So many more things you can get out of this one. All right. PIPL is also one of them. I can just mention this thing. That's absolutely right. Let's mention here Spokio. Okay. Perfect. Great. You can check in the PIPL for an organization as well as for an individual. So I guess that is also a paid version. Okay. but this whole scenario is just to give you an idea how these things actually work. Okay, then we have who dot is as well. We look for this one. What it does, it search in respect to the domain name. So if I write InfosecTrain.com, which I've already mentioned, if I hit search for it, you can see, right? It grabs the company name, and it will get the information regarding that particular domain. You can see which server is GoDaddy.com. It will give you register information, the name servers, and these sort of things, right? Isn't it? So you can get a lot of information regarding who dot is in respect to the domain name. Although you can see a lot of information is not mentioned here, you can always go for the another one, which is netgraph. Okay, netgraph is also one of the utility which gives you a pretty good hits and give you a pretty good list of all these things for you. If I show you that as well, so we'll be looking for the same websites, although it's taking a time. Okay, so write InfosecTrain.com, look up for it. Okay, I look for the same website, right? So if I scroll down, you can see more details that were actually, you can say hidden or say not visible in who.is, right? It will be giving you IP address, right? Many more things. You can see geolocation as well, right? And many more. Like if you talk about hosting histories, can you see web servers also mentioned here, right? If you remember when we did that Vapalizer also, were we able to see Apache? When we did the Vapalizer part, we were able to see Apache server there as well, right? So what you can do, you can narrow down your research on the basis of that. If you do want to do a pen testing, you'll be specifically looking for the Apache server now. You don't have to go for various servers. You will be narrowing down your research on the basis of Apache. If you can see, versions are also mentioned before, although they are hidden now. You can say a guard has been set up, but earlier we were able to see the version as well. So as in pen tester, you have to be have this wise mind also. You have to make these wise guesses, and moreover, what you have to do, you have to play smartly around this part. So if you are able to see the previous version of Apache and you are noticing that they are upgrading it, they are updating and getting the latest one. So you can always conclude with that the Apache server which they are using right now, that might be 5.3.7 or the latest one. Like you will get the range, right, from 5.3.7 to the latest one. So you'll be specifically attacking or you can say specifically testing that particular server for that matter. You don't have to play around each and everything again and again. Make sense, right? So in all, it is about making a wise guess. You won't be privileged enough to gather all the information pinpoint. You have to make wise guesses here. Okay, you have to go out and hunt for it. So did you guys knew this much information about InfosecTrain before? No, right? And like does InfosecTrain knows anyone is gathering up and looking up the information about them? No, isn't it? So that's the quality of doing information gathering or reconnaissance. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's take a task. Okay, though one gave a pretty good list for that. So let's take a task. I want you guys to do what? To gather information, not gather information. You have to gather emails IDs in respect to domain this. Okay, in respect to this domain, search for email IDs as much as you can and just list out and gather as many as email IDs you can gather regarding the domain infosectrain.com, like sales at the infosectrain.com and that thing. So list out all those email IDs. Try it. All right, let me just show you OSINT framework as well. Okay, if you click here, just Google OSINT framework. it will be giving out the results. You can see the very first link which says https://osintframework.com. Just go with the first one, click on this. It will be giving out multiple options here, and we have to search in respect to email address. Let's say I click on this, it gave me multiple options here. If I want to go with email search, you can see it gave you pretty good list of tools here, right? So you can go with them and try to search for an email. Mail Hunt is there, Hunter is there. So if I click on Hunter for say, if I click on Hunter, you can see it opened that page for me, right? And you can find the email IDs and everything in respect to that particular domain name which you will be mentioned here. Make sense? Perfect. Moreover, there is one more pretty good one. Okay, let me just mention the name here. Okay, okay. So the name is snob.io. I will just mention here as well. That's another task though, okay, which we have to perform, but let it be. Snob.io is the the one which I'm talking about. So if you Google for it, right, you'll get the link, the very first one. Okay, like this one, snob.io. If you hit enter, it will open this page for you. I already logged in. Okay, just log in for this one. Go for find emails in respect to domain search. Just write InfosecTrain here. .com. You can see the logo also appears. It is giving me the suggestion. But click on this. All domain emails. Can you see? We got a pretty good hit here. Like a lot of names are mentioned in this part, right? So I can assure you these are the valid ones. It's not like all the time it will be giving you the results, right? We cannot be totally dependable, but most of the time I would say it is pretty good utility and it will be giving you the results. Okay, you can try this snow.io for your organization as well. Okay, these are the valid ones. Perfect. Do you guys want one more task regarding OSINT and information gathering? Doing here. Okay, so just go with this. It says, can you find something to help you break into the company Evil Corp LLC? Recon social media sites to see if you can find any useful information. Okay, so this is the task. You have to find something which will be helping you to break into the company with the name Evil Corp LLC. And it says it drop the hint. Go with the social media site to see if you can find any useful information out there. This thing which I've said, mentioned here, it is the hint for your answer. Okay, your answer you will be getting in this format, something like this. Okay, go for it. Let's see. Okay, perfect. Let me just show you that thing. So all you need to do is, guys, just open a Google, write Evil Corp LLC, right? Go to the Instagram one. Okay, so you went with the Instagram. Okay, Instagram is the the hint here. So if you click on this one, this profile will get open, right? This one. Now guys, try to find out. The answer is here itself. Now quickly find it out. So if you look at this image, right, this one, if I click on this, this is expanded someone like this, right? You can see an ID card is here, and if you look closely, if you zoom in, you can see HDB bracket your enumeration is a strong young one. Can you see that? Right? And is it something which will be helping you to break into an organization? Isn't it? Got this image in Instagram? Perfect. So if you move on with the slides, right? We have discussed regarding what? We have discussed regarding job postings, isn't it? Right? We have resumes. We have already discussed about resumes as well. So, and we have talked about tools as well. So if you talk about tools, guys, many more are there. NS lookup is there, traceroute is there, ping is there, whois we have discussed, right? Netcraft is there, Google is there, social networking is there, Malteco is also one there, and OSINT framework is there. All right, clear till this part? Perfect. So we'll be wrapping up at this point, and what we'll be doing, we'll be going with few Linux basics, and then we'll be starting with the scanning and exploiting a host. Animation will be there, and we'll be trying to exploit a host with that. Okay. Thank you, everyone.